Hello friends, welcome to my channel. This is your Mercy. If you're a returning subscriber, I appreciate you. If you're new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button. This is Lawyers Infohub, where I share tips for excellent practice. I encourage lawyers, I teach law. The aim is just for you to be an excellent lawyer in all you do. So today I'm going to talk about custody of children in matrimonial proceedings. Now, when spouses are no longer happy with themselves, things have gone sour, and there's a need for them to go their separate ways, and there are children in the marriage. The law have made provisions for the children because the interest of a child is very paramount when we are considering matrimonial proceedings. Now, when parties are in court for dissolution of their marriage, the court goes out of its way to ensure that the interest of the child, as provided by the law, as provided by the statutes, is taken as priority. Now, when children there are children of the marriage, the court always emphasize the need for compulsory conference where parties will need to sit down to discuss how to fare for these children after they've gone their separate ways, their education, their welfare, and all that pertains to them having a good life, even though there is the father and mother structure is no more there in the time of marriage. Now, what by section 7 to 1 sub 1 of the Matrimonial Causes Act, the court is enjoined that in proceedings relating to welfare of the child, custody, guardianship, that the interest of the child is paramount. It should be the paramount consideration. Now, custody, we have the joint custody, we have the sole custody. Sole custody is where the custody of the children is given to one of the parties. While joint custody is where both the husband and the wife are given equal right as to the custody of their children. Now, in compulsory conferences, when parties cannot, or there are some areas they cannot agree on, then when the report is filed in court, the court cannot make by its own judgment, make orders based on evidence given and the disposition of parties in court with respect to the interest of that child, because of the children of the marriage. This is very important. Now, there are factors the court considers before custody is awarded. Now, the court also looks at the degree of familiarity of the child or the children to any of the parties. Sometimes you see a child is well drawn to the mother or the father. The court looks at the degree of familiarity. Sometimes you see the court will ask, bring the children to court. These are where the court will now look at whether the degree of familiarity between any of the parties to the children. The court will look at the amount of affection each child, shows to one of the parents. Sometimes some are inclined to their mother, some are inclined to their father. These are some considerations the court considers. Another thing too is accommodation. The court considers, okay, where would the child stay that will be conducive? They also consider the income of the parties. Now, if I'm granting custody to the husband or to the wife, the court will look at their financial capability to be able to take care of these children. Then, if there's any evidence of moral depravity on any of the parties, maybe one is a heavy smoker, is a womanizer, or brings women to the house, the court would not easily grant custody to that person. So the court looks at where any of the parties is already living with someone else, maybe the man or the woman has already remarried. The court will not grant custody to that person. Remember, in under the Islamic law, custody is usually granted to the mother. Yes, that's under the Islamic law. Now, where any of the parties has issue of insanity or cruelty, the court will not inclined to give access to the custody of those children to that party. Now, when we talk about custody too, we talk about access. In access, the party might not have custody but might have access. They have the full access, you have the restricted access, like more of a supervised access, where the court will say, okay, before you see this child, you meet this condition and all of that. So custody of children is very key in matrimonial proceedings. Don't forget to talk about custody, the types of custody, the relevant consideration. We talk about the access and what the court looks at in granting also access. Now, there are a lot of cases on this issue. So I think today we're able to do justice